This is the game I played in the Summoner Wars League. I was playing the Cave Goblins against the Breakers. I thought this was a pretty good game with a nice finish. There's one tactic I used that I really wanted to highlight. So when I get to a certain point, I'll probably slow down and spend a lot of time talking about that. And I'll try to talk about some attacking ideas as the Cave Goblins throughout the video. I have a pretty good starting hand here. The first thing I always do with the Cave Goblins is summon as many commons as possible to cycle through my hand faster, because I really want to draw a gate as quickly as possible to apply more pressure. And without a second gate, Cave Goblins are going to have a pretty hard time getting the pressure started. I put my summoner in the front lines at the end of this turn, and occasionally I'll make this type of play in this matchup if I'm player 1. I think there's some other matchups where you can get away with doing this type of play as well. It could be somewhat risky because your summoner might eat some damage, but it has the benefit of jump starting your offense. Usually I think you need a gate in your hand to justify this type of play, but even without a gate, it's kind of just a coin flip whether the game goes in your favor or not. And honestly, I'm okay with having a 50-50 shot in this matchup because I feel like the Breakers do have a small edge here, so I'll take a 50-50. So yeah, primarily I'm just hoping to draw a gate to justify exposing my summoner like this. I really like this turn from my opponent. He targets my slingers and gets some good magic from the kills. And then my summoner takes some damage in the process. And lucky for me, I drew 2 gates. Honestly, had I not drawn a gate here, I feel like Takulu easily could have gotten a positional advantage on me, especially with already having placed a gate of her own. Then I whiff big on that Deceiver, which really hurts because I was hoping to have to spend more resources blocking the lane on this turn. And you'll notice with Sneaks, I like to keep him close to the action, just behind the front lines. Normally you want to put Sneaks in a position where he's like just in range to counterattack, but also in a position where he isn't blocking your forward summoning points, which would congest things. Then one important thing I wanted to point out is that my opponent's doing a good job of aggressively building magic to match my fast-paced offense, which is so important to do if you're under a lot of pressure and your opponent's playing fast. It's to maintain your opponent's pacing and to not let them take too much space by playing slow. Honestly, the number one mistake I see players make is that they don't maintain the same pacing as their opponent, which means they might be getting steamrolled in a fast-paced game, or maybe they're giving up too much space and they're fighting from a weak position for most of the match. Or maybe the opposite happens where they're exhausting their resources too quickly. So yeah, very important that you not be afraid of letting go of good cards when the pressure is on. This turn I'm just trying to continue on with using as many cards as possible each turn. Still, I'm trying to cycle through my deck as fast as possible to maintain the pressure. Takulu misses a mind capture there, which would have slowed me down a lot. But since she missed, now I'm going to have a lot more space to work with. And you'll see that I'm just trying to occupy as much space as possible to squeeze Takulu into a smaller and smaller area. And Takulu does have enough magic for Gold Dune, so I can't recklessly put my summoner out front. And Takulu gets the mind capture this time on my Klinger, which will become a key strategy in the next few turns. When you'll see kind of how I deal with that. I got a nice one shot on the gate there with my summoners. And I'm pretty happy to have Unrelenting with so many commons on the front lines. And you can see I'm getting a lot of good value out of Unrelenting this game. I think that's the second Beast Rider now killed by Unrelenting. Anytime you can have a Beast Rider saved by Unrelenting, it's really huge. Okay, so this was the critical turn of the game that I wanted to talk about. From this position, I'm thinking about what is the best way to play for a win. Takulu now is in an uncomfortable position, and I'm thinking there's at least 3 viable ways to play for a win. I was thinking option 1, I could go for a gate destruction strategy, because I already took down 2 gates, and taking down 2 more is definitely doable. Then option 2 is to play for an economic victory, which is only possible because I got so much value back from playing my Unrelenting events, and I thought the extra Beast Riders could be enough to win this way. And option 3 is to play for the assassination strategy, and then put all my resources towards assassinating Takulu. Ultimately, I went with option 3 because I feel like Cave Goblins excel the most at assassination, so I wanted to play towards their strengths. Then, of course, the next thing to analyze is how am I going to pull off this assassination attempt? So my idea here was to use a concept I've used before in this matchup a few times, actually. And the idea is to use that captured clinger against my opponent. So when Takulu captures a clinger that's adjacent to her, sometimes it can become kind of a double-edged sword where it limits her movement and it causes extra congestion in her position. So the strategy here is I'm going to ignore the clinger. I'm going to intentionally leave it alive, which will cause Takulu to be stuck in place. And you'll also see that I'm going to leave the Mind Witch alive intentionally to prevent Takulu from moving and escaping. So the idea is just to sacrifice all my resources to keep Takulu boxed in and surrounded from all sides. The other part of my strategy here is that Blarf is going to be safely charging up in the back, and kind of once Sneaks goes down to low health, I swap him out for Blarf to finish up the job. It's a pretty common attacking pattern that I use with this team to assassinate. And Takulu really can only hold out in this position for so long because she's kind of slowly losing the trades here. Eventually, she's going to be forced to kind of kill her own units to get out of this situation. I'm not sure if this was a good decision or not to kill that deceiver in front of his gate. This kind of opened up the door to a champion coming out now sooner. Maybe it would have been better to keep that deceiver alive. I'm not really sure which play was better, to be honest. So here comes Guldoon. And finally, I forced Takulu's hand to use an event to kill her own unit just to get out of this situation. Okay, now I have a pretty big turn here where I can kill Guldoon. And I even had an opportunity to take this gate out if I had rolled better. Okay, Takula tries to make an escape here with the help of mind control. And honestly, with a couple of turns, she could escape. But Blarf is closing in. So now I'm faced with a decision of, do I bring my summoner in and try to go for the win, or do I try to chase Takula down next turn and go for the kill on the next turn? So I was thinking, if I bring my summoner in, maybe he has mind control, and if my summoner misses, my mind control could easily kill me instantly. Um, but if I try to chase him down next turn and he has Tempest, I might not catch him. Maybe he captures something. So it was a pretty tough decision, but I thought it was more likely that he probably only had a Tempest left, since he hasn't used one this game. I guess it's possible he also could have both. Um, so I just decided to put my summoner in there in a position where if he does have Tempest, there wouldn't even be a chance that he could escape the next turn anyway. And I managed to get the hit for the win. And as it turns out, my opponent told me after the game that he actually had mind control in his hand, so it easily could have gone the other way there if had I not got that hit. Thanks for watching.